Human behavior is one of the most fascinating and complex subjects in the world. Every single day, without even realizing it, we make thousands of decisions influenced by our subconscious mind, emotions, environment, and past experiences. One powerful psychology fact is that nearly 95% of our decisions are made subconsciously. That means most of what we do is not controlled by logical thinking but by hidden mental patterns formed over time. For example, when you instantly like or dislike someone within a few seconds of meeting them, that judgment is usually based on subconscious signals such as body language, tone of voice, facial expressions, and even subtle similarities to people you've met before. Our brain is constantly scanning for safety, familiarity, and social cues. This explains why first impressions feel so strong and why they are so hard to change later. The brain wants to save energy, so it makes quick conclusions instead of analyzing every detail deeply. Another interesting psychological fact is that humans are highly emotional beings, even when we believe we are being rational. Studies show that emotions play a bigger role in decision-making than logic. Even in business, relationships, or major life choices, emotions quietly guide our actions first, and then we use logic to justify those emotional decisions afterward. For example, when buying a product, people often choose based on how it makes them feel rather than its technical specifications. That's why advertisements focus more on emotions like happiness, love, success, or fear instead of facts and numbers. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. This basic survival mechanism controls habits, addictions, relationships, and even career paths. We naturally repeat behaviors that reward us emotionally and avoid situations that trigger discomfort, embarrassment, or rejection. One powerful truth about human behavior is that people care more about how you make them feel than what you actually say. Words matter, but emotions leave a stronger memory. You might forget someone's exact sentence, but you will always remember whether they made you feel respected, ignored, valued, or embarrassed. This is because emotional experiences activate deeper parts of the brain connected to memory storage. That is also why negative experiences sometimes stay in our minds longer than positive ones. The brain has a negativity bias, meaning it focuses more on threats or unpleasant experiences to protect us from future danger. Unfortunately, in modern life, this bias can lead to overthinking, anxiety, and self-doubt. We replay embarrassing moments repeatedly, even when others have already forgotten them. Humans are also deeply social creatures. Our brains are designed for connection. Social rejection activates the same pain centers in the brain as physical injury. That means being ignored, excluded, or criticized can literally hurt. This explains why people often change their behavior to fit in with a group. Peer pressure works not because people are weak, but because the need to belong is psychologically powerful. We naturally mirror the behaviors, accents, gestures, and even opinions of those around us. This is called the chameleon effect. Without realizing it, we copy others to build trust and connection. That's also why confidence is contagious. When someone enters a room with strong posture and calm energy, others subconsciously adjust their behavior in response. Another fascinating psychology fact is that silence can be more powerful than words. When a conversation suddenly becomes silent, most people feel uncomfortable and rush to fill the gap. Skilled communicators use silence strategically to gain control, encourage others to reveal more information, or create emotional impact. Similarly, body language often communicates more than speech. Around 55% of communication is based on body language, including posture, eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures. For example, crossed arms may signal defensiveness, while consistent eye contact can signal confidence and honesty. However, context always matters. Human behavior is complex, and no single gesture guarantees a specific meaning. One of the most surprising psychological truths is that people often believe what they want to believe. This is known as confirmation bias. We naturally search for information that supports our existing beliefs and ignore evidence that challenges them. This explains why arguments rarely change minds. Instead of listening to understand, many people listen to respond. Our brains protect our identity and ego by filtering information. This also connects to another fact. People don't see reality as it is. They see it as they are. Personal experiences, culture, upbringing, and emotional state shape perception. Two people can experience the same event but interpret it completely differently. Habits also control a huge portion of human behavior. Once a habit loop is formed, cue, routine, reward, the brain prefers to repeat it automatically. That is why breaking bad habits feels so difficult. The brain resists change because familiarity feels safe, even if it is unhealthy. Interestingly, it takes more mental energy to make a new decision than to repeat an old one. That's why successful people often focus on building strong daily routines. When positive behaviors become automatic, success becomes easier to maintain. Motivation may start a behavior, but habits sustain it. Another powerful psychology fact is that people reveal their true personality not when everything is going well, but when they are under stress. Stress removes social filters and exposes deeper behavioral patterns. Some people become aggressive, others withdraw, and some become extremely productive. This reaction often connects to childhood experiences and learned coping mechanisms. Our early environment plays a major role in shaping adult behavior. The way we were treated as children influences our confidence, attachment style, communication patterns, and emotional regulation skills later in life. Humans also have a strong need for control. When people feel powerless, they experience anxiety and frustration. That's why even small choices, like picking what to wear or what to eat, can improve mood. Choice creates a sense of autonomy. Interestingly, too many choices can also cause stress, a phenomenon known as decision fatigue. When the brain gets overwhelmed by options, it struggles to choose and may avoid making decisions altogether. This is why successful brands often simplify choices for customers. Another fascinating behavior pattern is that people are more honest when they are physically tired. Lying requires mental effort because the brain must create a story, maintain consistency, and monitor reactions. When someone is exhausted, their cognitive resources decrease, making it harder to maintain deception. Additionally, people tend to overestimate how much others notice them. This is called the spotlight effect. We believe everyone is observing our mistakes or appearance closely, but in reality, most people are too busy thinking about themselves. One of the most powerful psychology facts about human behavior is that change is possible, but it requires awareness. The moment a person becomes conscious of their patterns, they gain the power to shift them. Self-reflection rewires the brain over time. Neuroplasticity allows the brain to adapt, learn, and grow at any age. This means no matter how fixed someone's behavior seems, transformation is always possible with consistent effort. Understanding human psychology not only helps us understand others but also ourselves. When we recognize why we act the way we do, we gain control over our reactions, emotions, and decisions. And in that awareness lies true personal growth. Another powerful psychology fact about human behavior is that people are strongly influenced by rewards and recognition. Even small appreciation can significantly boost motivation. The human brain releases dopamine, a feel-good chemical, when we receive praise, validation, or social approval. This is why social media notifications feel addictive. Every like, comment, or share activates the brain's reward system, encouraging us to repeat the behavior. Over time, this can shape habits and even self-worth. Many people begin to measure their value based on external validation rather than internal confidence. This explains why criticism often hurts more than it logically should. Our brain interprets social disapproval as a potential threat to belonging, which triggers emotional discomfort. Understanding this can help us become more aware of how much power we give to other people's opinions. Another interesting fact is that humans naturally fear uncertainty more than failure. When outcomes are unclear, the brain struggles because it prefers predictability. Uncertainty activates stress responses, making us anxious even if the situation is not dangerous. That's why people sometimes stay in unhealthy relationships or unfulfilling jobs, because familiarity feels safer than the unknown. The brain chooses predictable discomfort over unpredictable possibility. However, growth only happens when we step outside comfort zones. Psychologically, exposure to small controlled risks can gradually train the brain to tolerate uncertainty better. This is how confidence develops, not by avoiding fear, but by facing it repeatedly until the mind realizes it can survive it. Human behavior is also heavily influenced by framing. The way information is presented changes how we respond to it. For example, people react differently when a doctor says 90% survival rate versus 10% mortality rate, even though both statements mean the same thing. This shows that perception often overrides logic. Marketers, leaders, and influencers understand this psychological principle very well. Words, tone, and presentation shape emotional reaction before rational analysis begins. This is also why positive self-talk can gradually improve confidence. When you repeatedly tell yourself empowering thoughts, your brain starts forming neural pathways that support those beliefs. Another deep psychological truth is that people are more motivated by the fear of loss than by the desire for gain. This is known as loss aversion. Losing $100 feels more painful than the happiness of gaining $100. Because of this, humans often make decisions to avoid losing something rather than to achieve something new. This behavior can be seen in relationships, investments, and even everyday arguments. Sometimes people hold onto toxic situations simply because they fear losing the time, energy, or emotions they have already invested. Recognizing loss aversion can help us make more balanced decisions instead of emotional ones. Interestingly, people tend to like others who are similar to them. Shared interests, background, language style, or values create an instant sense of connection. This similarity attraction effect explains why we feel comfortable around people who mirror our personality. At the same time, humans also admire qualities they wish they had. Confidence, intelligence, humor, or success can attract attention because they represent growth or aspiration. This dual pattern, comfort in similarity and admiration for aspiration, shapes friendships, romantic relationships, and even role models. Another fascinating psychology fact is that multitasking is largely a myth. The human brain cannot fully focus on two complex tasks at once. Instead, it switches rapidly between them, which reduces efficiency and increases mistakes. Constant task switching drains mental energy and lowers productivity. That's why deep focus leads to higher quality results. When we eliminate distractions and concentrate on one task, the brain enters a state called flow, where performance and creativity significantly improve. Understanding this can change the way we work and study. Human memory is also less reliable than we think. Memories are not exact recordings of events. They are reconstructions. Every time we recall a memory, the brain slightly alters it based on current emotions and beliefs. Over time, this can change how we interpret past experiences. This explains why siblings sometimes remember childhood events differently. It also shows why eyewitness testimony is not always perfectly accurate. Our brains prioritize meaning over detail. Another powerful insight about human behavior is that gratitude can rewire the brain. Regularly focusing on positive experiences strengthens neural pathways linked to optimism and emotional resilience. People who practice gratitude consistently report lower stress levels and improved mental health. This is because attention shapes perception. When you train your brain to notice what is going well, it gradually becomes more sensitive to positivity instead of problems. This does not mean ignoring difficulties, but balancing awareness. Lastly, humans are deeply influenced by expectations. If we expect someone to behave in a certain way, we often unconsciously act in ways that encourage that behavior. This is known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. Teachers who believe a student is talented may give them more encouragement, leading to better performance. Similarly, if you believe you are capable and resilient, you behave with more confidence, increasing your chances of success. Expectations shape actions, and actions shape outcomes. Understanding these psychology facts about human behavior empowers us to live more intentionally. When we recognize the hidden forces driving our thoughts and actions, we stop reacting automatically and start choosing consciously. Self-awareness transforms relationships, productivity, emotional health, and overall life satisfaction. The more we learn about human behavior, the more we realize that small mental shifts can create powerful life changes.